Well, a very good day to you, and welcome to this next portion of the series on the book of James that we have been covering over the past few weeks. I hope you are well and you're managing your week and everything is fine at home. And we're going to be continuing in James chapter 1, and we're going to climb right into it today. James chapter 1, verse 26 and 27 is our scriptures for this particular section. So let's look at them together right now. James chapter 1 from the Passion Translation, verse 26 says, "If someone believes they have a relationship with God but fails to guard his words, then his heart is drifting away and his religion is shallow and empty. True spirituality that is pure in the eyes of our Father God is to make a difference in the lives of the orphans and widows in their troubles and to refuse to be corrupted by the world's values." You got to love James, the brother of Jesus, because he's got this wonderful way of getting right to the point. James just doesn't muck around. And I don't know if you remember what your childhood was like, but I remember my childhood was one where when I was confronted and I felt like I was in a bit of an altercation with someone, I used to sing that old rhyme. I'm sure you've heard it. "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Well, now that I'm older, I've discovered, like Santa Claus, that that is not true. Words have tremendous power. Words have actually define, when you think about it, the very best and the very worst times of our lives. Words indeed make or break us. James is very straight, isn't he? He says if we fail to guard our words and to guard our mouths, our spirituality and our religion actually is shallow, and we are drifting away from the faith. Ouch. When we feel life is confronting us or confronting our comfort zone in some way, that's usually when the language comes out. And let's hope that that language is good. So I wonder today, how are you holding up with all that's going on? And how are your words and your language holding up? If you feel that you're drifting away today in some way, I'd like to suggest this is because you probably didn't guard your mouth and your heart in a difficult time. And maybe you spoke some damaging words over your life. And I want to put the challenge out to you right now. As we continue through this challenging time right throughout the globe, think about the words that you are speaking over the crisis, the pandemic that is going on throughout the world right now. And I want to challenge you, would you take up the challenge to speak life and not death over your circumstances? And these challenging times, that's what the choice we have. We can be life-giving or life-draining. And yes, what you confess is what you possess. In verse 23, James goes on to, verse 27, James goes on to say that looking after widows and orphans in their distress, that is true spirituality, or some versions say true religion. Have you ever thought, why does James zero in on widows and orphans? Well, in Bible times, a widow who had no husband to look after her was in a very desperate space. With no one to provide for her, the widow was among the poorest of the poor. And of course, exactly the same was true for an orphan. An orphan who had no parents meant no financial security, no future, no way in the natural of receiving any provision. James focuses on widows and orphans because they represent a demographic that cannot pay you back. And then James goes on to say, and keep yourself, at the end of verse 27, from being polluted by the world or spotted by the world. Why does he say it that way? Well, the world has a system. And the world system is this: what you put in is what you get out. The world systems say, if I'm going to give you this, then you have to give me that. If I pay you this, then I expect that back in return. Whereas James is saying, true spirituality is to give, not expecting anything in return. And I can't think of a better time right now for us to take up these two challenges. Number one, watch your words. Make sure that your words are life-giving and not life-draining as you speak over your circumstances. The second one is, what or who are the widows and the orphans in your sphere of influence? Who are those that if you were to give materially to them in some way, you're pretty sure you won't get anything back. Not because they don't want to pay you back, but simply they can't because of their socio-economic position. I wonder right now, who could you reach out to? So here's the challenge today. Reach out with your words and make sure your words today are life-giving. Number 2, as James says, won't you think for a moment about who the widows and orphans are in your sphere of influence? What is something you could do for them, not expecting anything in return? Well, that's our lesson for today. I hope that puts some challenge into your heart. I certainly was challenged all over again when I was preparing for this talk. And my prayer for you is that you will actually not just hear this, but say, how can I put some of this into action today? I want to encourage you to stay tuned because later on in the week, there'll be some more clips available. God bless you. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe.